We are live on Tubies in a Pod. Yeah. Our guest today is UFC fighter Andre, former The Fury, now Touchy Fili.
Yeah, dude.
He is 22-10. With that no contest tough. Was a little rough.
Yeah,
when he just
tough.
Killed the guy the whole entire fight. But he's been in the UFC for 10 years. He fought for our organization, West Coast Fighting Championship. This was a large back in the warehouse. Is pretty tough to fit into.
Attaboy.
I feel like I'm back in 2005 with the what are those shirts? The fighter shirts back in the day. Affliction. It's kind of fitting a little bit affliction-ish. But
you're missing some rhinestones. You need some good rhinestones.
But he fought for us 3 times, and the coolest part about Andre's and our relationship was he fought for us, and then I think it was 2 months later he got the call to UFC. It was kind of cool. So we had our first direct, I believe, from West Coast Fighting to UFC. So it was a big moment for our organization. I first met Andre, gosh, dude, when he fought Vayman Dennis in 2012.
Oh, yeah.
11, how many years ago?
2012 was
11 years ago.
11 years ago. It's insane.
And you were skinny,
so
and you were, gosh, I don't even know how to describe. You had an ankle bracelet on. I remember that.
Yeah, I was on house arrest. I had like a mullet mohawk with like 5 different colors in it, and I was on house arrest for a battery charge, and I had my head tattooed. I still have my head tattooed, but that was like one of my only tattoos. And then, I was a real fucking miscreant, dude.
Yeah, and you, and the fight was tough. I remember it was Vayman Dennis.
Yeah, he's tough. Yeah, he's a psycho, dude. He would. I would see him running after we fought. I would be driving home from training, and he trained at a gym that was like close to the apartment I was living in. And he would just be. I was like, dude, do you want to ride? He's like, nah, I run to practice. He would run like 10 miles a day to training and home. Like he'd run like it was like something stupid, like 5 miles to train and then run home.
Yeah, he was a man at that point. Yeah. Right? I think I was like a kid, man, trying to figure it out. Like when I see you in the last 5 years, I'm like, okay, Fili's got his man muscles, developing an athlete.
Adult. Yeah.
Back then, man, I think you knew. I think you had all the talent in the world, but just kind of misguided at the time, right?
Yeah, for sure. I was just, I mean, at that point in my life, like even early years of the UFC, like I was just a fucker. I just was like, I just got in fights. That's what I like to do. So, there's a certain lifestyle that comes with it. Professional fighters aren't like a lot of other athletes. We're usually kids from off the street, I know that there's other athletes like that, but usually if a kid gets taken off the streets and he's a football star, like he's living a certain lifestyle, like through college or through that. Like there's a little more structure, I think. If you're a standout in MMA, even in the UFC, it's like it's so chaotic. There's no structure. You have to develop whatever amount of structure and discipline like you want in your life. You have to implement it. There's not going to be like a big team program. It's just a different sport. It's a whole different animal, and I don't think it'll ever be. I think it'll always be that, for better or worse.
Well, I feel like maybe with the wrestlers it's a little different because they have the structure.
Yeah.
And they have the weight cut kind of down at that point.
Yeah.
I feel guys that aren't in the collegiate wrestling or high school wrestling, it's a little tougher, right? I feel like it's a different animal, a guy that gets in the UFC and isn't a wrestler. Yeah,
I mean, what's funny is people don't know this, but I actually started out as a wrestler. I wrestled. I was a good middle school and a good high school wrestler, and I fucked up a lot as a kid, and so I didn't really. I kind of used fighting as almost like a second chance because wrestling just. Yeah, I was a good wrestler. I probably could have got school paid for. I probably could have done a lot of things with wrestling, and I didn't wrestle in college. I didn't really go to college, and I got arrested instead. So I started being a professional fighter, and I think that's part of what made me push so hard with MMA is having kind of blew it with. That's what made me push so hard with fighting is I kind of blew my opportunity with wrestling. It was gone. So. Yeah, I think wrestling helped. There was some structure there, and I think training at Team Alpha Male, like a world-class team, was a big eye-opening thing. I went from training like 3 or 4 times a week to training, 2 or 3 times a day. that was huge. You know, there was structure, and I'm thankful for some of it. But yeah, I still had a lot of things to figure out. You know, I think in the last probably 4 or 5 years, I've gotten things really dialed in. You know, I feel like I've always been more disciplined than a lot of the people around me, but it's not necessarily a good gauge of, you know, it's like your eyes get, you guys get open the more, like you're in a certain group and you're like, damn, I'm super disciplined. Like I'm way more disciplined than these guys. Then you get with another group and you're like, oh, I haven't even touched professionalism, you know. I haven't even gotten. Then you get around professionals and you're like, okay, now I'm disciplined, now I'm working hard. And then you get around the guys who are elite, the best in the world, you know. I'm training with you know, Team Alpha Male obviously for a long time. Then I just started training with John Donaher and Gordon Ryan and Gary Tonin and those guys, and you know, those guys are the best in the world, and they train every single day. Like they train 7 days a week. It's not always the hardest training, but there's not a day that they're not in the gym. Like they're in the gym 7 days a week.
Where are they out of?
They were out of New York. They were in Manhattan, but now they're out of Austin, Texas. I go to Texas a lot. I fucking love Austin. I'll probably buy a house out there.
So
later.
what's your split now with Team Alpha Male and over in Austin? Are you going, like, if you have a camp coming up, do you go half and half? Or
no, I'm thinking about doing half and half, but right now I do my camps at Alpha Male, and then when I'm not in camp, I go explore and travel. I go to I do a lot of kickboxing at CSA in the Bay Area. I do a lot of jiu-jitsu at New Wave in Austin, and yeah, just kind of exploring. I've been training in Vegas a little bit, so yeah, it's cool to just kind of explore, you know, and get out of your comfort zone, get a new room full of guys that, you know, I'm sure you were playing football. Like you play with guys for so long that you know what they're gonna do and they know what you're gonna do, and you get into these rhythms and routines. And like for certain stuff, that's good. Like if you have a quarterback and a wide receiver and you know each other well, then like that's a really good thing. In fighting, if you have the same rounds with the same people every day, it's good, but it can also, you hit a point of diminishing return where it's like, I need a new look.
You need curveballs, because when you get in the cage, you'd rather happen in Austin or CSA rather than in the cage.
Sure.
You're like, oh shit, like I didn't know about this.
Right. Or I have this hole in my game that I didn't realize because I haven't been working on. There's no one in my room that does this specific thing or presents this specific problem. And so, you know, really that's, I feel like what jiu-jitsu is, and to I guess to a bigger extent, that's what MMA is like. It's critical thinking, it's problem solving at a really high pace, you know. And so, you know, if you have a person who isn't presenting you specific problems, or you might be the best guy in the room and you're just not getting presented with very many problems at all, it's hard to, you don't know what you don't know, right? So it's like if a guy isn't presenting a specific problem, then you never figure out the answer to it. And you go to a new room and it's full of kids doing like sport jiu-jitsu, and I'm getting tapped by like 22-year-old blue belt, competition blue belts. You're like, fuck, I've never even seen this. Like, it's really good. It's really good for you, and it's humbling and it's challenging, and it keeps me. It's why I think I'm still in love with fighting, because I can still go to a room and get out of my comfort zone and get my ass kicked by a 22-year-old, and there's always more to learn. You know,
it's going to be so cool to see where MMA is going to be in 10 years, 15 years, because these kids are training MMA at like 6-7 years old.
Dude.
I feel like the class of, the top 100 guys in the world right in the UFC, none of them trained when they were little kids. Maybe the Brazilian guys did jiu-jitsu, but you know, it's going to be a whole new animal. I feel like these kids' diets, the kids are dieting, they're training jiu-jitsu, striking. I mean, I can't wait to see it, where the sport's going to evolve in 10 years. It's going to be insane.
I've gotten to train with a couple kids. There's a kid named Eric Cortez. We call him Frosty. He's from Sacramento. He was training with the team part-time. He's a high school wrestler. He was training with the team part-time, and he started training like freshman year. And by sophomore year, he told his mom, like, I want to be homeschooled so I can train. And then he's just been at Alpha Male 6 hours a day, every day. Wow. And he'll do classes on his computer between jiu-jitsu and wrestling classes at Alpha Male. So I've watched him in the last 2 years go from just a kid to like a kid kind of getting beat up in the room and like learning, to now he's like hanging with UFC guys in the UFC. He's 17. He's hanging with guys in the UFC. He's traveling and fighting, competing. He
just fought, right, recently? Is he with Radium, right? Or no?
No.
Different guy. That's different Cortez.
That's Rosas. Raul Rosas. He just fought. He
that
got
guy,
signed at 18. He got signed at 18 to the UFC.
Or
that
he's 17 or 18?
17. Yeah, he's a kid. That kid's a stud too.
Yeah.
The kid we have at our team literally just for example, he's been training with us for a few years, and he's still actively wrestling as a high schooler. So there's a tournament called Reno Worlds that just happened. It's a wrestling tournament. It's basically high school nationals. Like if you win Reno Worlds, you're probably the best wrestler in the country. You're 100% the best wrestler on the West Coast. Like people come from everywhere, all over the country. I didn't win Reno Worlds. I don't really know too many people that did win. If you won Reno Worlds, you're the fucking man.
It was a rib eating contest, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like the Abu Dhabi.
Maybe we're talking about something different.
Wrestling, right?
It's similar. Yeah, it's a once a year tournament, and it essentially acts as high school nationals. Like if you win that, you're for all intents and purposes a national champion.
Okay. So this kid's a stud.
So the thing is, not only did he win it, he won outstanding wrestler. So he won the tournament, and then he got voted the most outstanding wrestler of the tournament. And kids train for 6 months. They train all year to win that tournament. And he was at Alpha Male sparring Wednesday, and then trained Thursday, and then left to go to the tournament Friday, and then beat up all those kids Saturday, then came back and was in the gym Monday.
So we got to get him on the show.
Yeah, you do for sure.
Bring him.
He's just like, you ask him about it, he's just like, yeah, they're just kids, man.
Well, he's training with men.
He's literally fighting UFC fighters every day. So they're like, hey, you're in the toughest high school wrestling tournament in the country. He's like, all right, I guess I'll go beat up everyone.
Yeah, right.
He's just like not.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, he's just like not worried
Guess
about
I gotta go
it.
beat up some people again.
The kid is special, man.
Yeah.
What about Bopo, Joseph Morales? He was a guy that started young with Alpha Male, right?
Yeah, he's a stud.
What is his? I knew he was in the UFC.
Yeah, the UFC
cut
cut a bunch of 25ers. They basically cut I think over half the division. They were thinking about getting rid of the entire 25 roster, and I think they ended up keeping, I don't know how many fighters, but they cut a lot of guys, and unfortunately Bopo was one of those guys. But I think he's going to get signed again soon. He's on a little tear. He's winning a bunch of fights. Uriah's got A1 Combat going right now, and Bopo's been winning there and winning at some other local shows. I think Tachi, Bopo's a stud, man. Yeah. He's a good example of kind of, I think that's the generational thing. Like when I was watching fighting as a high schooler, it was like Rich Franklin was like a math teacher like 3 years before, and then he was the middleweight world champ. Yeah. You could just be a guy who decided to fight, and you could be in the UFC. And then my generation was fighting by like freshman year of high school, and now these kids are fighting by like second grade. It's just the kids are going to be unreal. There's a kid I trained with named Jackson in Austin as well. He reminds me of Frosty. He's like a stud Muay Thai kid. Like he's 16, long, lanky kid, real rangy. We'll have rounds, and he's tough. Like I got to be on my P's and Q's. Like he's giving me a pretty tough round standing, and then he's just as good at striking as he is. He's just as good at jiu-jitsu as he's striking. Like the kid's fucking good. The kid would beat up most grown men, and he's like a little 16-year-old kid. He's like a little skinny 16-year-old kid. But he'd beat the shit out of most grown men. It's like it's just a different era, dude. These
That's
kids,
the scary thing,
dude.
Yeah. I remember we were watching UFC. I don't know. We were at the house, and you told me, "Gosh, you're like I like dressing like a dork." This was when you were, God, you had to have been like 22, 23, and you're like, you know what? Because I can dress like this just beat up. He's like, Brent, you said to me, like, guys like you, 6'4", football guys, you're my favorite kind. Because we don't know how to fight because we just by brute strength you don't get messed with, right?
Yeah.
So
big guys almost never get checked. Like they almost always just get to be the big guy.
Yeah.
You sock a big dude right in his nose for the first time. He's like, I
what's
don't
going
like this.
on?
Yeah. He's like, wait, this dude actually. That was my entire it's not me now, but that was my entire high school experience. Was just like pick a fight with a dude who had abs.
The biggest guy.
The biggest guy. Not even necessarily the biggest guy, because a lot of the big guys at my school were pretty chill. It was mostly like the running backs from like other teams. Like it was the dudes who would like 2-parent households and like played 3 sports and like I got moved from Seattle when I was in like 6th grade to this small town Placerville outside of Sacramento, and it was a weird culture shock, and there was a lot of kids that thought they were super tough, and I don't know why. I just took it upon myself. There was a bunch of racist redneck kids, and there was a bunch of like tough, like athletic jock kids who thought they were super tough, and I just I just didn't sit right with me. So like because it's a small town, when someone throws a party, like kids from every school go. It's like there's not a bunch of parties happening on a Friday night. If someone has a party, everyone's going. Yeah. And so it was mostly just me getting in fights with like I never like beat up anybody smaller than me. I wasn't a bully. Like I would get in fights with dudes who were like, they were all like the dudes who thought they were super cool or super tough from other schools. They were almost always like football player dudes who like lifted weights. Like, and again, looking back, like I could have just put that effort into just getting good grades and doing my fucking homework and being a good wrestler and being a good. But I was just pissed off, and I just wanted to. I don't know what I wanted to prove. I wanted to prove that I cared. I wanted to prove that I gave a fuck less than everybody else. So like, it wasn't enough to just be a good wrestler. I like wanted to be a good wrestler, but I wanted to let everybody know that I didn't give a fuck about anything, or like I didn't try hard and I was better than everybody else. I didn't take any of the things serious that people were supposed to. I don't know. I had a chip on my shoulder, And so I'd see kids from like 2-parent households who fucking drove their parents' truck and thought they were super cool, and like I was like, all right. That's the guy,
Basically describing me in high school.
It's like that's the guy. But only if those guys wanted to. Only if those guys thought wanted it. Yeah, I wouldn't pick on kids, but it's like those dudes who think they're tough. It's like, all right, like the first opportunity to fight that guy, I'm gonna take it.
And I feel everyone's been humble the last, I would say, 10, 15 years, because I know I'm a big guy, but I'm old now, so I don't even care about that stuff. But we'd go out to the clubs and stuff like that. And you have to think about it. You see a little guy. I mean, I would always, if there was a situation, I always look at his ears. I'm like, oh, does he have that cauliflower? Oh, all right. He's cool. I don't care,
Yeah.
But it is a different, I mean, I think it'd be so cool if I was like 5'7", 155 pounds and know that I could just lay me at like a 6'4", 230. Oh, that would be a home run.
I mean,
that'd be the best.
Yeah, it's like, honestly, especially for a long time now, I'm not a guy who like goes out and looks for trouble, but yeah, I think I just always enjoyed confrontations. Like when you met me, I would like the way I dressed, the way I did everything was just about like inviting any amount of confrontation I could, because I relished it, and it's not really mean anymore. It's not me anymore. Like I still love fist fighting. I still love that, but you grow up a little bit, you mature, hopefully, a little bit. And
I can't believe you haven't noticed kind of look to my right now and look at this shirt. My right.
What are we talking about here?
I can't believe we haven't addressed that yet.
I think it's pretty sweet, dude.
I was saying, I read up that you had some Hawaiian roots, so I wanted to support that with some.
I appreciate that.
Some Tommy Bahama over here.
I like that. Hell yeah.
Margaritaville. Hell yeah. Oh yeah. Rest in peace. But you brought up a lot of really interesting points here, man. First of all, talking about. You were like, what, 22 when we first met, when we were talking about West Coast fighting back in the day?
Probably 21.
Right?
Probably 21.
And it's really interesting because you talk about how Brandon's the sort of guy that you used to love beating the hell out of. So I think it's probably funny when he came up to you and he's like, hey, you want to fight? You're like, yeah, I do. Oh, no, for the promotion. Like, oh, okay, I thought you just wanted me to check you real quick. Yeah. Another thing, kind of crazy that Placerville, old Hangtown would be a little bit racist? No way.
Yeah, who would have thought?
No way. Yeah. But small Hicktown, a little bit? Sorry, anyone from Placerville, a little bit. No, I remember visiting Placerville as a kid. My uncle had goats out there, so it was one of those kind of places where I was like, okay, Placerville's goat town. Yeah. But yeah, that's really interesting. You're talking about a lot of things here. One that really kind of blows my mind is talking about the way MMA has changed, right? You're talking about guys like yourself who were fighting as freshmen and stuff like that. Now we're talking about kids growing up with it. I think what's going to be really interesting is when we start seeing the second generation fighters, right? Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of them yet. That's to me like really when sports start to take off is when someone who has been around it their entire life, a Barry Bonds, a Ken Griffey Jr. type, can be around these guys their whole life, because then they're around guys that show them the way to do things. Like you're talking about, you were the big fish in a small pond, which is really cool until you get too big for the pond, right? Then, like you say, you're just fighting the same guys over and over again. You're not learning about the holes in your game, things like that. So, I mean, like, that's one of those things. You got to go to a new pond. You got to get new things. And so these guys are learning early on, hey, let's learn in this, let's train in this, let's train in that. And I think more often than not, guys were one thing, right? Guys were wrestlers. Guys were jiu-jitsu guys. Now you're everything, man. So I really think it's fascinating. And, the sports has grown by leaps and bounds, man. Like, it's really, really exciting. But I want to go back to your first fight, right? So you were 21, I think you said, when you did your first fight. I read it was like 09, 14
I
years
was
ago.
19. I was 19.
19, yeah,
19 pro at 19, yeah.
So did you go to any sort of amateur fighting, or did you just go straight to pro?
I did like 2 or 3 like weird smoker fights, like pancreation smoker fights, and I just kind of like, yeah. We did like in gym fights. The only real amateur fight, I had like 2 pancreation fights that were like weird, I don't know, weird smoker fights. And then I had 1 legit MMA smoker fight at the old No Limit fight gym, Phil Flathers' old gym. Shout out Phil Flathers.
Good old Phil.
Yeah, shout out to Phil, man. He's cool. He's been around the game a long time. He had the
hookup on medicals. He was the guy. He was the guy to go to.
Dude, he's helped me out with a lot. I mean, he's been a guy in California MMA for a fucking long time. You got to respect the longevity. Like, he's been around a long time. But he had smoker fights at No Limit at 2008, and year I graduated high school. And
same.
Yeah.
And
I remember that. Ended with an 8.
Yeah. And so yeah, he had some smoker fights, and like I show up and the windows are like all covered up, and like it's all kind of hush hush, and I think the weight's at like 160, and like I don't know where my opponent is. I don't see him, and he's like, "Don't worry, he weighed in already." And I'm like, "All right." And I weighed in like a little over 160. He's like, "It's fine, doesn't matter." And I'm like, "All right, cool."
The undercard was a couple of chickens. Like, what the hell, man? This is a little sketch.
And then, dude, it was like chaos. Like people getting kicked like in the face on the ground, and just like the referee was an old local fighter. I don't remember his name, but he had a pretty long fight career, and he ended up moving away. I think moving to Thailand or something. But he was 100% high on amphetamines while he was refereeing, like very visibly high on crystal meth as he was refereeing. And I was like
running around the top of the cage.
Yeah, he was like, well, he was very locked in, but he wasn't calling. He was letting people die in there. And
his eyes were wide open, but he wasn't calling anything.
Yeah, he was not calling anything. And I actually fought a dude from Ultimate Fitness. He was a guy who was training. He just ended up being a guy. I see him randomly sometimes downtown. And I fought a guy who was training Ultimate Fitness at the time before I had met Faber, any of those guys really. And so, whatever. It's my first smoker fight. I go in, and I was like, and this girl I had just started talking to at the time was in the crowd. So I was like, fuck, I gotta like put on. And then within like, I broke the dude's arm within like 30 seconds.
What was his weight? He showed up like 205.
Nah, he was bigger than me, but it wasn't much, and I just took off on him in the corner, and then like I think something happened where I don't know, he tried to clinch. I took him down, and then I just like jumped him out, jumped to armbar, and I just felt his arm rip. Yeah, and like that, I actually won by submission quite a bit back then. I need to get a UFC submission, but I won by submission a lot. But yeah, it was pretty gnarly.
And then I remember. It was a really tough decision for you. You were coming up. You were the MMA gold, right? Dave Hirschbein helped you out a ton, right?
Yeah.
And I know you guys have figured all that out, but it was a tough transition, right? You were with Hirschbein at the time. He didn't have any UFC guys really, and I know he put a bunch of time and effort. And a lot of people have a lot of bad things to say about Dave. I don't. Like I feel he's
always helped me out.
He's on top of things. He loves the fighter. He doesn't do it for money. The money's good once they got in the UFC, but he had his own money. But I know you had to make that transition from Dave Hirschbein, MMA Gold. This was at the time, and then join Uriah's team.
Yeah.
And I know that was I remember talking to you about it. It was a really tough decision because for your career, it was probably the best move training wise. And they were at odds. They hated each other.
Yeah.
But I feel it was the best move for you professionally. But personally, it was tough because that guy was father figure for you.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I don't know about father figure, but he was a guy who really helped me out. He really looked out for me. And me and Dave are still on great terms. Like I see Dave, I give him a hug, and like his kids are awesome. His wife's awesome. Like I have a lot of love for their whole family. But. Yeah, he helped me out a lot, and I actually continued to be managed by him even when I was training at Uriah's place, because MMA Gold wasn't a team at that point. It was just a management company. So I was training at a place called Overcome. It was like a small gym in Cairn Park, and couldn't afford to train at Faber's full time. It was like the gas and getting down there and stuff. So then I got arrested, got put on house arrest, and my probation officer said he would count training as my job, but I could only pick one spot, and that kind of forced my hand of like, all right, I'm not going to keep training at both places and trying to figure it out. And I just made the switch to training at Alpha Male, and it ended up being a great switch. I still continued to work with Dave, and then eventually signed with Uriah's management. But yeah, I think change is hard. It's something that is I still struggle with today. Like, I'm not great at change still today, but I'm a pretty loyal person, and I don't really. I like my routine. I like structure, and especially structure that I build for myself. But yeah, sometimes you have to sort of take that leap of faith. And I didn't know Faber well. I didn't know any of those people well at the time. They ended up being family. I would say Faber is like a father figure to me for sure. Like maybe an uncle or something, somewhere between an older brother and a father figure. But yeah, he I think Alpha Male probably fucking saved my life. So it's like training there was a good call. It was a hard choice at the time, but the other thing too is I was like 19, and you look back at choices you're making when you're 19, it's like, it's just chaos. There's no rhyme or reason to most of it. So it's like,
but it made sense though, right? Like, you have one of the best gyms in the world, 45 minutes away?
Yeah. I mean, even at that point, I was like, I had moved to Sac already. So it was like, I'm actually traveling farther to train at the old gym to hang out with my friends instead of just committing to this world-class team. So, it really got, it's funny because my random probation officer kind of facilitated this life-changing thing. Like, he imposed this thing where he's like, look, you got to pick one. And I was like, yeah, I don't really know. And then he was like, well, he doesn't know shit about fighting. He's like, why wouldn't you go train with the UFC guys? Like, he was just very simply like, why wouldn't you go train with them? Like, that's who you're gonna go train with. Like, what are you like? Basically, what are you fucking stupid? Like, why are you gonna go? You want to go train with? He's like, you want me to let you train at two places, even though you're on house arrest, and I'm letting you train at one, and you're trying to decide between going to hang out with your friends or training with guys in the UFC. Like, it's a pretty fucking easy choice. I'm like, yeah, when you put it that way.
And I feel like you when you went to Team Alpha Male, you turned into a man. I mean, they made you turn into a man quick.
For sure.
Who was the guy, obviously other than Uriah, when you stepped in the Team Alpha Male, that kind of guided your way? Like, okay, this is the way I got to live if I want to be a champion. Who was there at the time that kind of awoke in you to be like, okay, this is what I got to do?
I think it was a cultural thing, and just being on the team. There's countless guys, like a room full of 40 dudes working their ass off. You kind of just have to sink or swim, And but I would say the main guys were Uriah, obviously, and then Danny Castillo, Chad Mendez, Joseph Benavidez. Those guys were really big for me as far as leading by example. All those guys have helped me out in some way. They're all super different people, but they're all very similar in other ways. And I think Uriah, Danny, Chad, Joe, those guys all really looked out for me and helped me out, and I owe them all a lot. They all at some point have all helped me out. Like,
they're great guys.
They're all good people.
Just for this podcast, right? They don't, like, Danny doesn't owe us shit, right? Like, we didn't throw him any fights. We didn't, had a couple of his guys. He was, on the corner in a couple of our fights, but he's one of the first guys, to come drive, 45 minutes. Gosh, he was with us for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
really
he's the man.
Appreciated that.
Yeah, and he is the most humble guy. I mean, what a stud, what he's done in his career, but the nicest guy. And you look at him with that scowl, and you look like you totally think he's going to be a giant dick.
He is a giant dick. He's a fucking asshole. I love him.
Yeah, he's the best.
That's my brother, man.
Yeah, it really meant a lot to us because, we just started this. We didn't know what we were doing,
Yeah.
And he didn't know us anything.
Yeah, he's good people, man.
I love Danny. He's a great guy.
Awesome, dude. It's cool. It's been cool to see those guys, each of them, not Joe yet, but Joe soon, I'm sure. All of them become, Danny, Chad, Uriah, all become dads, and all become
Hall of Famers.
Hall of Famers,
I know Favors there. Is Benavidez there?
No, I'm sure he will be. I'm sure he will be. Yeah, and it's a pretty crazy thing to watch them, to watch them become dads and watch them transition into new businesses. And yeah, it's pretty fucking cool, man. It's cool to see them take the next step, like. And
you get to see that, right?
Yeah.
It opens your eyes to the next step. So what is the next step for you? Like what do you, obviously you want to be a champion.
I'm going to be a world champion. Yeah.
On that.
Yeah, I'm gonna be a world champion. I'm gonna keep making music with my friends. I'm gonna transition after fighting. I'm gonna keep fighting. I might fight till I'm 40. Like this is the best I've ever felt. Like I thought by now I'd be almost done, and I feel like I'm just getting started. So I'm gonna keep fighting as long as I can because I love this game. And in the meantime, I'm going to continue to try to springboard things off it. Like I have Outcast Underdogs. I have my clothing T-shirt line. I have
buy a T-shirt now or 5 years of bad luck.
Exactly.
Yep. Outcasts and Underdogs.
Outcast Underdogs.
Oh, and you.
I have music that I make. I'm loving that, and trying to do more acting gigs. I have a show that I'm working on. I wrote it up a treatment for. I'm gonna film a pilot for a show. A bunch of things like, there's like a meme going around where it was like. Snoop Dogg just says yes to everything, and he just shows up as Snoop Dogg. Like Snoop Dogg, like there's German soda commercials with Snoop Dogg. It's like Snoop Dogg just does everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, what's his job? He's just Snoop Dogg. Like I want to just be touchy feely. Like I just want to be me for the next 80 years. You know what I mean? Like I just want to be me. I just want to do things that I like with people I like and get paid to do it and have people watch, and it's like I have a shitload of ideas for shows, and I want to act, I want to keep doing music. Well,
you've always been creative, I feel like, and I know, don't get offended and beat me up, but I always tell everyone Andre's the smartest non-educated guy I've ever met.
I appreciate that.
It is. You have a mind about you. Where does that come from? Your mom, your dad, and explain. I know you've had a really rough upbringing. If you want to, because I feel it's a testament to a lot of people listening out there, kids out there. It's that classic story, shitty upbringing. Yeah, you overcame a lot, and you got a house, you got a beautiful girlfriend, you got the pool,
your life is
everything.
Good. Yeah,
right?
Life is good. Yeah.
So, looking back? Explain your childhood roughly. I just want to give our listeners a snippet of what you went through.
I mean, like a lot of fighters grew up rough. My dad wasn't really around. My dad was out of jail and shit, and my mom was struggling, single mom. Like it's the same story everybody's heard, but I think the biggest asset that I had that some people around me growing up similarly didn't have and affected the way that we turned out was I don't want to say work ethic because it sounds self-righteous. Like I didn't give a fuck about anything else except what I gave a fuck about. Like I would look teachers in the face as an 8th grader and they'd be like, you need to get better grades and stop hanging out with those kids. And I would look teachers in the face and tell them I'm going to be a famous fighter. This doesn't matter. Like none of this matters. Like 8th grade doesn't matter, 9th grade doesn't matter. Like as I need to graduate probably, I need to get a diploma, but like I'm not going to do anything else above that because all my energies, like I just want to go fight. Like
so you knew that at a young age?
Like 14, 13, yeah. Like I would say my advice to kids is like whenever I'll go talk to kids at like continuation schools or juvie, and like sometimes the teachers don't like what I have to say as much as other people, but I just keep it real. It's like, it's like, all right, like because everybody growing up was like, you need to listen to your parents, you need to do this, you need to do that. I'm like, look, like believe me when I tell you that like no one around me has the answers that I need. So like you might be growing up and not have anyone around you that you can actually look to. They're like the people that everyone's telling you, listen to your parents, listen to your teachers, like they might not know. Maybe the answer is just like get good grades, learn a trade, like you'll have a better life.
And what if your parents are all screwed up? You're not going to listen to that.
Yeah. So it's like for me, it was like, maybe listen to your parents, maybe listen to your teachers, but like I'm not taking advice from people whose life doesn't look like a life I want. So like, what can you tell me? Like other than what not to do, like if your life sucks and you're trying to give me advice, like why am I going to listen to that? And it just was like, that was crystal clear to me at a really young age. So it was like, I was just down to focus on what actually made me happy. I think the problem is a lot of times kids are like, I don't want to do this shit. Like, I want to do what I want to do. It's like, well, if what you want to do is just like play video games and like do nothing, then like you can't really make that swing. But if you have something you're passionate about, or if you just pick something and you decide I'm going to do this every day, then like I say, focus on what makes you happy. You know, if you know at a young age, then do that, or pick something, learn a trade, and just go all in. Find someone, if it's not your parents or your teacher, find someone whose life looks like one that you want, and then learn everything you can from that person and do what they do and just imitate. Like I'm 100% down to steal and copy people who like if you have a great idea, like I'm taking it. Like Warhol said, good artists borrow, great artists steal. So it's like, yeah, if you're doing something right, I'm gonna do that. Like I'm gonna imitate it, you know. And like, so the one thing that I think helped set me apart from the shit that I grew up in is just the ability to focus on, be like very, very focused on what actually makes me happy and what I wanted my life to look like. And the other thing too is that I think other people didn't have is like the discipline of like, I'm going to do this every day. Like I'm not going to do this when I want to do this. Like I don't wake up every day and want to go fight people. Like I'm not a fucking serial killer. Like some days you wake up and you're like, I don't want to go get in a fist fight, but it's like, that doesn't matter because that's what your job, like that's what you do. So like for me, like I would get my ass kicked Monday and I'd show up Tuesday, get my ass kicked Tuesday, I show up Wednesday, and then I show up Thursday, and then Friday my friends are like, oh, we're going to go to the river, we're going to go party. It's like, I will do that after I go to jiu-jitsu. Like I'll do that after I go do the thing that and I think a lot of that comes from my mom. My mom was like, I think my mom did in her own way, she did a good job of instilling that like nobody really owes you anything. And like, it's not always going to be good or feel good. Like my mom has a crazy work ethic, and I think there's a point of diminishing return where you still have to enjoy your life. My mom never had any like, she was never fake or like never flowery about like, like sometimes this shit's gonna suck. Like you're gonna have to wake up and go to work. Like it's gonna suck. Like it's not gonna be fun all the time. You don't get, like, no one owes you a good time all the time. Like you're not too good to do a job you hate if it means that your bills are paid and you get to go do the other shit you wanted. Like she was just very much like, she didn't pretend that the world was like sunshine and rainbow. She was like, no, like you're gonna have to fucking work, and a lot of it's gonna suck, and like it's not gonna be easy. And so like I think a lot of my friends had this idea where they were like, I'm gonna get a fucking cool job. Like I'm gonna go to college, and then when I graduate, I'm gonna get a high paying job, and like it was just gonna be like this fun time all the time. And for me, it was like I was mentally prepared from a very young age that like you're gonna have to work, and it's not gonna be fun a lot of the time, and you're not too good to have a job that sucks if it means that you get to go train, pay your gym fee. You know what I mean? Like if your rent is paid and you have groceries and you get to go train, then like you're not too good to work some job fucking flipping burgers or making pizza. You know what I mean? Like this idea of it's not gonna be fun most of the time. And I didn't have any like I didn't have any misconceptions about that. You know, I didn't have any preconceived notions of like.
You seem to be a realist, right? Like exactly tell it how it is. And I don't. Were you on that cruise? I took you on a cruise.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. I saw a picture the other day, and you didn't have shit when I met you, right?
No,
like nothing.
No.
So I took you on a cruise as a bonus.
Yeah.
And it was like a shitty Carnival, like $300 cruise.
Fun though. Yeah, it was fun. It was
Shout out to Carnival. Dude, I love Carnival. Carnival's the best. And I remember you sitting there. I'll never forget this by the pool. There's one thing. Remember the nose ring?
Yeah.
I remember that. But I'll tell that story too. I just remember that. But I'll just remember you and Anthony sitting on the lounge chairs with a plate of food, and you looked at me and you're like, I can have as much as this as I want, with the biggest smile on your face, with like 4 hot dogs. I'm like, you can eat like this all day. You were so happy. And then I'll never forget, you got up, and there was this girl in the pool. She had a nose ring.
Dude,
and you said,
no, her glasses.
It was the
her
glasses. Yeah.
Dude.
And then you decided to do a cannonball.
Dude, so I run. The pool's not big,
This
but
is awesome.
I ran and jumped in the pool. But as I was in the air, she pushed off one of the walls to like start backstroking into the pool, and I just like Hulk Hogan leg dropped on top of her, dude. And her glasses like fell off and dug into her lip, and she had a gash in her lip.
It was just
and it was just
bleeding.
pouring blood, and I was like, "Oh my god!"
And I think like 10 minutes before that, I had bought the girls drinks.
Yeah.
And said it was from you to kind of hook you up.
Dude,
you know, and
it's so bad.
And this blood just gushing.
I was like, I think I was like pretty drunk at that point, and I just like
ruined our buzz.
I just like went back to the room and fell asleep. Like, I'm sleeping this off, dude. I felt so bad, dude.
But the point of that story was, you went from that, you know, to now you're, you know, a successful UFC fighter. You're not living paycheck to paycheck anymore. Yeah. How does that feel? It's such a, but you know, more money, more problems, right? I mean, it's a different kind of stress.
Yeah.
But how awesome that doing what you've loved has created. Did you ever expect this?
Yeah, not to sound like a pretentious prick, but like I completely expect this and more. I think that's why I remind myself to be, you know, appreciative of where my life is, but it's like, I expected more than this. Like I still have a lot of work to do, so I'm never happy with where I'm at. But I started doing like a gratitude journal before bed. When I wake up and before bed, first thing I do, last thing I do in the day is write 3 things I'm grateful for. And it keeps me centered, it reminds me, you know, how good my life is, because it's easy to get caught up in wanting more. But yeah, I still do. I still want more. I try to find that balance of appreciating where I'm at and also not being content, not being, you know, I think there was a couple years in my career, mid to late 20s, where I was like, I had lost a couple fights that I should have won, and I was really disappointed, and I got in this rut. You know, it's like sometimes it's hard to be hungry when you're not actually hungry, you know, like, you know, even if you lose, the bills are paid, and you don't have to steal groceries, and you know, the lights are on and you have a nice house or whatever. But you have to just constantly, for me, it's like you have to keep constantly moving the goalpost, you know what I mean? Otherwise you get stagnant. And yes, I try to balance that. I try to reconcile. I'm immensely grateful for everything I have with none of this is enough. I deserve more. Everyone around me deserves more, and I'm not going to stop until I get it. And to try to find the balance between those two things is what I'm striving for.
I still just have a smirk on my face thinking about you just dropping the knee on the girl in the pool.
Dude, I felt so bad.
I wish I could have seen that.
I felt so
people.
bad. I was like, dude.
It was the day at sea, so they had all the music going.
Yeah. It was bad.
Everyone was pumped. Everyone had a good buzz, and then
it was bad, dude. It was really bad.
What
I felt so bad, dude.
This fighter split my lip.
I hope wherever she is, like, she doesn't have a scar and she forgives me.
It felt so bad, but it also felt so good.
It felt terrible.
I heard you did one of these after.
No, I felt terrible, dude.
Ripped the shirt off, the Hogan leg drop, baby.
No, I felt so bad, man.
I think I just walked away. I didn't even know what to do with it.
I don't even know who this guy is.
I was like, fuck, I'm so sorry, dude.
That's the guy who had 7 trays from the buffet earlier.
He had a big gut.
Dude, I felt so bad.
Just instantly like, damn, I'm out. I think I walked away.
Yeah, I think I just I stumbled back to my room and slept it off. I was like, I don't want to be out here.
Guaranteed, that wasn't even the worst thing to happen to anyone on that cruise that day. Like, there's got to be some worse stuff going on.
Was that the cruise where Formosa was like kicking doors in the middle of the night? Remember that?
No, I think that was another one. Yeah, I only went on the one. That was it was fun. The guys are all taking another cruise this week, I think, but I'm staying home. I'm trying to get a fight booked, so I know if I go on the cruise, I'll come back 10 pounds heavier. So easily. I'm just trying to I'm gonna get drunk all week. I'm gonna eat all week. I'm trying to be real. I'm trying to be a real professional. So
no, it's funny you talked about how you kind of really haven't lived quite up to the expectations, but I think you're mostly just talking about fighting, right? Because I mean, I don't think you expected to also have written a pilot, to have been in a band.
Yeah.
So you're a front man for that band, right? Is that what I saw? Born Breach?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, were you Born Breach?
I was not.
You were not Born Breach, so this is just false advertising. I was, because I was like going to say, cool, like we have something in common, but whatever, bro.
Yeah.
But, I don't have any more questions for this. I'm just kidding. No, but I was listening to you guys because you had mentioned, like, I'd read an interview that you had mentioned, like, you guys are kind of Rage Against the Machine-esque, and I'm like, okay, sure, bro. You're going to sound a whole hell of a lot like Tom Morello. And then I listened to him, like, oh my God, they kind of do. They have that same kind of sound going.
My guitarists are a really, really badass metal guitarist. They're super technical, and they're super inspired by Tom Morello. And his name's Ryan Williams, and we grew up kind of around each other, playing in different bands, playing shows together, and that kid fucking rips, dude. They all rip. Like it's a 4-piece, so there's a drummer, a bassist, and a guitarist, and Ryan, Dave, and Dennis, and they all fucking rip, dude. And then I just jump around and yell. But so they're fucking incredible musicians.
Speaking of music, when you were fighting out in London, I believe your last fight.
Yeah.
What happened? They didn't like the Mac Dre song?
I changed it. Yeah, I've been changing it. Yeah, I've changed it. I changed it a couple of times. I walked out to Turnstile 2 fights ago.
Oh, I thought they didn't like Mac Dre or something.
No, they loved that. Yeah, they just expected me to do it because I walked out I texted Heidi. Shout out to Heidi. I love Heidi. I texted Heidi Dean. I said, I gave her a new. This is the song I'm gonna walk out to, and she was like shocked. She's like, I didn't even ask you what song you're walking out to because I just assumed it was gonna be Mac Dre again, which is cool because I like I like walk. When I fight for the last time, my retirement fight, I'll walk out to Mac Dre.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's in Sacramento. That's not for quite a few years, but I'll bring that song back. But that was more of like promise kept type thing. Like I told my friends when we were 14 that I was going to walk out in the UFC to that. So I did for a long time, but also I'm trying to be better about change, and I feel like the song has a lot of baggage and a lot of other shit, So I'm
what
like,
are you talking about?
I feel like that song has a lot of, like, I've had really high highs walking out to that song, and I've had low lows walking out that song, and just wanted to change. So I walked out to Turnstile. I have a really wide range of music taste, so I walked out to Turnstile. It's like a hardcore punk band. Not really hardcore anymore, but they're still a punk band.
And that was a tough fight to watch, man. I mean, imagine fighting it, right? But looking, it's hard to watch any of your fights because I am so, I guess, skewed that you're going to win the fight and you're always up. Yeah. And then I'm just like let down if it doesn't go. But on that fight, there's no way. Like, how the hell? So here's my thing. You fought a guy from the hometown, right? You gotta. Yeah. It's gotta.
It's my fault. I should have let it. I should have. There's a few things I could have done better to finish the fight.
But there's no way you didn't win. I'm sure you've dissected it. Is there?
I haven't even gone back and watched it. Honestly,
I'm like, there's no way. And I put a little money on it too. I'm like,
me too. I lost a little money on that one.
But that makes no sense. How hard is that? Because I know.
Yeah.
I can look at your face afterward, and
it's devastating.
I know I played a really small part in your career, right? So I feel like almost invested in. Yeah. And seeing you go to the next level, I feel like towards the end of my promotion, the only thing that got me joy is watching you guys succeed in the UFC.
You sent a few guys to UFC. I mean, I went to UFC.
We had 31. We counted the other day. 31.
Whoa, really?
It's crazy, right?
Oh, I thought it was like a handful. I know me, Josh, Christos. I'm trying to think of who else.
The girls, Aspen Ladd.
Oh, yeah.
Christina Cavilla, Joseph Morales.
Yeah.
We had 31.
Fuck, that's awesome,
Max,
man. Max, that's who I was missing. Yeah, Max.
Yeah, there's 31, but there are a lot of guys that fought. Like, who's that tall guy? Roosevelt Roberts. A lot of guys, that tall guy.
Yeah, who's the kid who fought Benito? Benito's another one, right?
Yeah, Benito's another one.
Who's the kid with the bulldogs on his hands? Fluffy. Yeah. Fuck, there's a lot of.
Oh yeah, 31. We were like
time for West Coast Fighting 11, or what are we at? 15, 20.
To be honest, it was when A1 came out. I was a little salty about it. I'm like, dude, why didn't you hit me up?
Yeah.
I look at my phone and he's like, hey, when are we gonna meet up about fighting? I'm like, oh, I should have. Because it was now it's a different thing, right? They have the casino. If I had a casino backing, it was rough.
And it's on Fight Pass. I mean, it'd be good. Yeah.
But the only thing that really got me joy was towards the last 5 fights. I didn't enjoy doing it. I wanted to get you, Max, Emmett.
It was cool. It was a special time, man. West Coast Fighting was fun because even after I was in the UFC, I'd commentate and stuff, and it was fun, man. I really like. And there was some fucking dog fight, like Christos Yagos and Josh Emmett. Christos Yagos and Josh Emmett is a better fight than 90-something% of fights in the UFC. Yep. And I got to watch it and commentate it like as close as you could be without being the ref, basically.
That was like one of the crazy. I can't believe we got that fight. It doesn't make sense.
It's insane.
Wasn't even the main event that night. Yeah. That was the co-main.
Both those guys are back. Well, Emmett win obviously, but Giagos is back.
In the UFC, yeah, for
so
sure.
That's another guy.
I think he just won.
Yeah, he's a total beast, but
he's a dog.
that was watching I'm invested, right?
Yeah.
Like into your career and watching your face, knowing you, I'm not pretend to be an expert, but I know a little bit about MMA being around it this many years. And I'm like, you won that. There's no doubt in my mind. But you know what I thought about right before they did the decision? Hometown guy, damn it.
Yeah.
You know, and then boom.
Hometown guy and all the other English dudes have gotten their ass kicked all night.
Yeah.
It's like, in this decision, somewhat close. It's like, yeah. I thought I had it though. I thought I had it, and it was, you know, it took so much. Like, it cost me like $30,000 that camp. Like, so it was like I gotta go through the camp like normal. I gotta go through camp like always. Obviously, that's expensive. Just eating. You're constantly eating. You're constantly doing dishes. You're constantly doing laundry. You're constantly training. You're constantly driving. It's like 3 a days every day. It just like, people think fight life is glamorous, dude. When you're in fight camp, it's literally cooking, dishes, laundry. Like, that's because I'm training 3 times a day, so you're doing all that laundry. I'm eating fucking however many I need. Like, it's just like this routine of the most boring fucking shit, and like, you're not doing some like crazy. Even the training's like not crazy adventurous. It's like, here's what we're gonna do in the fight, and we're gonna do it 1,000 times today, and we're gonna do it 1,000 times tomorrow, and here's what we need to fix, and we're gonna do that 1,000 times to fix it. It's like, fight camp training is super specific. What it takes to get through the training sessions is specific. It's fucking laundry, grocery shopping, and dishes, and cooking. Like, it's the same shit over and over. So that's always tough. But add on top of that now I got to figure out logistics of like flights getting canceled and all this hectic shit, booking flights, like who I'm bringing, passports, all this extra shit, like paying taxes in England and America and California. It's like, dude, there's so much more shit to go. Like, it cost me $30,000 by the time I flew my 3 coaches and my girlfriend to London, fed everybody for the week, paid all my, like,
how many flights did the UFC give you? One, right?
One.
That is
hotel room, mind you, hotel rooms. So I fly 4 people to England. We all need to be comfortable, so it's at least 3 rooms, right? Like, I don't want my fucking cornerman sleeping on the floor or sharing bed. So it's like, we got like 4 rooms at a Hilton, like in a nice area. It's like $300 a night. We're there for a week and a half or whatever. Like, I mean, by the time I fly everyone out, I house and feed everyone for the week. I pay my cornerman. I pay my 10%. I mean, it's like, we're talking like $30,000, probably $35,000. I think I had to do specific. That's before taxes. So I had to like do I basically, to make sure that England didn't tax me like out the ass, I did like almost like a mini write-off. Yeah. Like, I did like here's my expense report for my 12-week camp.
You're still dealing with Don Smith. So,
shout out to Don. Don is the man, accountant. Dude. I love Don. I love Don and Dub Tammy.
But you shouldn't have to be thinking of that right while you're fighting.
Right, but so my point was that my point was that
we're good.
Dogs are getting fed. Yeah.
My point was I did all of that, went to London, and then lost. And you're just like, all right, so all of that was essentially a waste of time. I just let all these people who are away from their kids and family to help me. I let all of them down. I let all my friends and family back home down. Everyone who's slightly invested in me in any way, I just let them down, because the reality is when I win a fight, everybody's like shares that moment with you, and when you lose a fight, you let everybody down.
Yeah.
And the worst thing is when you let everybody down, then everybody has to lie to you and be like, "No, it's all good, man." But it's like it's not all good. Like, I just lost half my money. I let everybody down. I wasted a bunch of time and resources, and it's like, that's just what fighting does. Like, you just have to learn to live with that.
But glass half full, right? Yeah. You're fighting in London. Like, what the hell?
I get to do what I love every day. Yeah.
Placerville.
Yeah.
You know?
At the fairgrounds. Yeah.
And then I thought it was really cool is we just missed each other by a day. I think you left Rome.
Yeah.
When I got in there. Did you ever think that was going to happen? We were going to miss each other.
I know. It's so sick. Like, eating pizza. That was the thing. So my manager, Jason House, shout out to him. He owns Iridium Sports Agency. He's
great guy. Yeah, we got to get him on here. He's probably got all kinds of stories.
He's the man. The thing about Jason is he's a great manager, but he's also a great person. Yeah. And that's like almost impossible to find. It's almost mutually exclusive. Like, to be a guy who fucking negotiates contracts and like fucking wheels and deals and whatever, like a lot of the times not even in fighting, just sports managers in general, like any type of agent or manager, Hollywood, sports, whatever, like they're going to be kind of a slime ball typically. Like it's just part of it.
Just like as a promoter,
it's just like most promoters.
You guys were surprised that I paid you like what I was supposed to. You're like, thanks, and I'm like, well, that's what we agreed upon.
100%.
And everyone was shocked when I paid them what the contract wages were, and he was Jason and Jeremy. Jeremy I hired as my matchmaker.
Yeah, Lichow's awesome.
Like the last 2 years of my promotion because I wanted to get these big time guys like Christian Gallegos on the promotion.
Yeah.
And I knew they would give me guys that are, badass UFC contenders. But I thought it was really cool when you're in Rome. I was at the Coliseum, I think the day after you were there. And I'm like, I thought about, I'm like, imagine Andre like in the Coliseum. I mean, the UFC is
it's gladiator shit.
Yeah. And I was so happy for you to get to experience that.
Yeah.
And we got the dogs out. They're excited for Andre.
Baja man, who let the
So I was in Rome. We did the Coliseum, and being underground in the tunnel, they had a walkout tunnel. Like there was just, you could just feel the power in that place, and it was really good. I felt it was incredible to be there and to soak up that energy. And like I was saying, my manager Jason House, he's a great manager. He's also a great person, which is a very rare thing. And after the fight, I was really down. I was really disappointed, and he was the one that reminded me, like, dude, you're in London fighting in the UFC, like, and we're going to Rome tomorrow. And it's like, life's pretty fucking all right. You'd be all right, dude. Like it's not just about wins and losses. And it is about wins and losses. It is about wins. Like, what's that Belichick quote? Like, winning isn't everything. It's the only thing.
Yeah.
Lombardi.
It's a Lombardi quote.
Lombardi quote.
It still rings true.
It still rings true. But you also have to recognize what's right in front of you. You don't want to fucking miss the forest for the trees. You know what I mean? Like I'm in Rome. I'm taking a tour of the Coliseum with the girl that I love. I'm eating pizza with friends. Like, I'm in fucking Rome, So, and I just got to fight, and it was an exciting fight. And
I mean, I was excited. Like, I was excited to be in the Coliseum. It was my first time there. I think 2 days after you were there.
Yeah.
And the energy, and then I'm like, wow, Andre was just here. Imagine
goosebumps.
having a fight in the Coliseum.
Yeah.
The UFC's got, I mean, that'd be the coolest
it'd be
thing.
Incredible, man.
Ever.
Yeah.
It'd be incredible. They were talking about doing Elon Musk, Zuckerberg in there. That'd be pretty cool. I'm gonna watch that fight.
That'd be fun.
But it was a good. Jason helped me. It was a good. Sometimes it's all. I think a lot of the shit is just about cognitive reframing, right? Like, you can look at a situation and you can look at it from one point of view, and then you can get a little reminder, and you can make the choice to reframe it in your mind and see it a different light, and your perception is your reality, right? So it's like,
he's got a lot of quotes going on here.
Yeah.
I love it.
Jason, me?
No, you got a lot of quotes going on. It's like Mike the Situation over here a little bit. Okay. You should start on a t-shirt company some more quotes.
Oh no, no, I can't do it. I don't want to be Mike the Situation. That's
he's balling though. Did you see? Oh, I watched.
Last thing I remember is he had a tequila with protein in it.
Oh, that's so weird. But dude, they have their new show out, and this dude's got like a in New York, like a hotel. I mean, it's just massive, and I'm like,
it's his place.
Oh yeah. They're crushing it.
Yeah, sounds awesome.
Yeah, shout out to Mike the
Situation.
Shout out to Mike the Situation.
Yeah, no, you bring up some really interesting stuff. One, the Coliseum, I always think it's interesting to talk about, like, it'd be one thing to fight against another person, but then sometimes they're bringing in, like, lions and shit, you know what I mean? Like, who am I fighting? It's a tiger. Like, no, I want to fight this other person over here. I got a sword.
Or you might be fighting a tiger, or you might just be like the fucking warm-up fight, the curtain jerk fight. So, like, the appetizer, so it's like, it's just you and a lion, but you're not really fighting. You're just locked in with a lion.
Like, how cool to be like a defanged and declawed tiger versus a human?
I'm not cool for me. You'd probably have a lot of fun with that. I'm cool. Cats are sketchy.
I was gonna say them gumming you is gonna hurt like hell. The power in those jaws.
Just a house cat is sketchy, but you look at like a tiger, you're just like, dude, everything about that is just a killing machine.
Palmer just wrestling bears. Oh, yeah. You saw that story,
but even bears, like, I've talked to Lance about this, like, because Ohio was like one of the last states to get regulation on this, so you could fucking into like the late 90s, you could have pet tigers without problem. You just whatever, you have everything. And so, like, he was saying the bears are like big dogs. Like if a bear's comfortable and it's not hungry and it's not like there's no cubs around. Like if you just have a bear that's been raised around humans and has never missed a meal, it's a big dog. Like it just gonna hang out with you. It just wrestle around with you and play around with you. And like it's doesn't mind being around humans. He's like, but he was saying the cats, the tigers and shit are never not sketchy. Like he said, you'd go in to feed them and you could tell they were watching you or they were hiding. The bear, when you go to feed it, he's like, can't wait to see
what's
you.
up,
He's like,
buddy?
yeah. The bear's like, sick. I can't. You're feeding me again. Yeah. The tigers are just like always watching. He's like, you never feel comfortable around the tigers. The tigers never like feel like they're your friend. They always feel like a thing that could eat you. Whereas like, the bears, he was like, the bears are just big dogs.
Like mountain lions, my biggest fear. Those guys are just can kill you. They want to kill you.
Yeah, that's like a fun game. They're not even going to eat you. They just maim you. There was a dude who killed a mountain lion though. There was a guy who killed a mountain lion with bare hands. Really was it?
Yeah, he's a guy for the Broncos. I don't think he did it with his bare hands. Maybe a different guy, but the bobcat was or the mountain lion was going around this neighbor, I think maybe in Colorado, and it was terrorizing, killing dogs, and he got in full fatigues and killed it. There's an article on it. But
this dude the dude I'm talking about killed it. Like he was attacked by a mountain lion on a trail and killed it with his bare hands.
Wow.
Yeah, the mountain lion in that it was in that shirt. The mountain lion came after.
These aren't
him.
Stretch marks. That's from the mountain lion scratching me.
Yeah. So getting in full fatigues and shooting a mountain lion is cool, but dude, killing one with your bare hands that's attacking you, like it gets the drop on you and you kill your bare hands.
It's pretty impressive.
It's pretty fucking impressive.
But their eyes, they're
monsters.
scary, man.
No,
they're just
one of the craziest and kind of scariest things I ever saw. This guy was working at like a big cat place, right?
Yeah.
So they are all in an enclosure, but he's on the outside of the enclosure.
Yeah.
He's face to face with them. The second he turns around, they start stalking every single one of them. Like there wasn't a single cat that was like, "Hey, it's okay, I'm still here." Like every single one of them, the jaguar, the leopard, all of them started getting low and started going towards him. And if the fence wasn't there, he was dead. They do not play around at all. It's not something that we want to mess with.
Even house cats, they suck too.
Yeah.
They just they don't care.
I mean, cats are killers, dude. Like they say, cats decimate like wildlife populations in neighborhoods, like indoor outdoor cats. They fuck everything up. They're badass, you know. But like the other thing too is it's like, you know, it's like fighting a dude with a knife. Like there's some amount of collateral. Like you're gonna fuck him up, but you're gonna get cut up. You're gonna get cut up. You're gonna need some stitches. You might end up losing a piece of you that you had before the fight. You might win the fight, but you're not leaving the fight like feeling very good. That's how I feel like fighting off. Like if you had to fight off a fucking wolf, it would suck to not get bit. That would be tough. But like with a mountain lion, you're trying not to get bit. They have razors on each hand. Like there's just no way that you're getting out of it without giant fucking wounds opened up in you. Like cats scare the fuck out of me, dude. Cats. I also am creeped out by birds. Birds really creep me the fuck out.
Yeah,
crows probably mess with you big time,
dude.
Right?
So crows are badass animals, but just birds in general.
What was the thing with crows? They recognize you, right?
They're one of the smartest
they're
birds.
Super smart.
They would bring people to different parks that would like feed them, and they would disguise them whatever they would, but they would recognize the people that were feeding them versus the ones that wouldn't.
No way.
They're really intelligent. They can figure out different things. I mean, they're not quite, squid level or anything like that. And I think actually parrots, macaws are slightly smarter. They're like neck and neck, but that's another one that freaks me out. Like you can talk.
Yeah.
And you can freaking kill me, right? Like I would scream, and whatever my last words are, you're gonna have it. It's gonna be the worst. Like, I pooped myself. Like you're gonna have fucking Polly want a cracker say, I pooped myself. Like, oh cool, that's great. Like the last words.
What's crazy is people who have birds as pets, or bird people. Like if you talk to people who are into birds, because they live like 60 years. They're like it's a deep connection, and they're smart as fuck. Like I think they were showing ravens, I think, learning to use like simple mechanical tools, like turn this lever to open this door to get the treat. Like they're smart. They're smarter than dogs. They're smarter than a lot of animals. And it's pretty interesting, man. Birds are creepy to me. There's a lot of animals that I love animals. There's a lot of animals that people interact with daily that I just don't.
And so you're Harley, right? Is your dog's name?
Harley Davidson, yeah.
Yeah, so
nice.
I'm gonna get another dog named Henry Ford.
Oh,
Harley Davidson and Henry Ford.
And dogs obviously are a big part of my life. I literally have an apartment built for my dogs. It's a whole nother level for my love of dogs. But I've seen that with your dog. I mean, you love that guy.
Yeah.
Aren't they so cool? I feel like dogs, it's unconditional love. All they want to do is eat. That's and they want to eat. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
They just want to hang out.
Yeah.
That's it. No matter if you lose your fight, no matter if you win the fight by a knockout, they could care less.
They don't give a fuck.
Yeah, and it's the coolest thing to see your love for a dog, because I've had that for so many years. I'm like, cool, he gets to experience it. But how was that? I mean, it's the coolest thing, right?
It's cool. I didn't grow up. Hadn't have pets growing up. So this is my first dog. I got him when I was 25. And that was my first dog I've ever had. It's my own dog. And like, yeah, it's a life-changing thing, dude. He's fucking awesome. He's an idiot, but I love him. I love the fuck out of him. He's just a worthless, he's just a giant piece of shit, but I love him to death, dude. But he's like not like, he's a pretty good guard dog, like especially when I'm not home, it's just him and Melissa. Mm-hmm. Like he'll fucking lose it, and he gets the mohawk on his back, stands up, and he's ready to fuck somebody up. But he's tough when he needs to be, but most of the time he's a giant lazy piece of shit. Like he doesn't do anything he doesn't have to. He's very much a bulldog. Like but he's the best, dude. It's cool because I actually prefer that almost. Like I see guys who have really cool, like badass, but like working dogs, like Belgian Malinois and or like Huskies, and it's like that shit seems like a part-time job. Like you cannot just have, like my dog will come home, like my dog wants to he wants to walk every morning, and then he's exhausted for the rest of the day. Like, but there's certain dogs who are like, they're like, I need to go like hunt. Like I've been around Huskies and shit before, and they're just like could take it or leave it when it comes to human interaction. They're like, I want to go sniff and hunt and like run and do. My dog is like, my dog wants to cuddle on the couch, and he wants like one walk a day.
That's it.
That's like it, dude.
And then you said earlier, you don't do a lot of podcasts and interviews.
Yeah.
Why is that? Is it just kind of you're repeating the same stuff? I feel like you light up a little bit when we talk about non-fighting stuff.
Yeah,
right? It's kind of like it's this last thing. It's like the whole thing of, hey, I'm training all day. I'm working all I do is talk about, or I live, eat, sleep, fighting. The last thing I want to do. It's like I don't want to talk about supplements.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if it's a collagen, EX Nutrition.
If it's the best collagen in the game.
Yeah, if that's our sponsor.
Well placed plug.
But why is that? Why are you just kind of over it, or?
I don't know. It's just I'm at a point where there's certain people I really enjoy talking to. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoy talking to you guys. That the majority of the people I talk to, I don't enjoy at this point. That's not true. I don't want to blame other people. It's me. Like I get in moods where I just am not. I don't feel like talking. I definitely don't feel like answering the same questions I've answered 9,000 times about fighting. To mostly the people who haven't fought. I find myself. I'm trying to not sound like a pretentious fucking prick right now.
Yeah, who cares?
I find myself.
Be that prick.
Yeah, I find myself more and more. I think this also is part of why I catch myself in a lot of conversations, like when I was younger, oversharing I've always talked a lot. I've always been a guy who talked a lot, and I've always been a guy who loved having conversations. And I think it's because I'm trying to get this thing from interactions that I just don't get much. I just don't feel intellectually challenged by a lot of conversations, or even not even challenged, intellectually stimulated by a lot of conversations, and they just kind of feel very superficial and just.
You want some substance.
Yeah, most conversations feel masturbatory. They're just like, what? We're just wasting air and time, and it's like. I want to talk about meaningful shit. I want to have meaningful, engaging conversations. If I'm going to have a conversation, I want to mean something. Yeah, I want to mean something, or I don't know. I'm not doing a good job explaining it. I think I just most of the time I don't, when I interact with a lot of people, when I interact with people on the street or in my life or in things that happen naturally, I almost always enjoy the conversation.
Yeah.
I almost always enjoy interacting with, making small talk with a stranger. Like you talk to an old person at the grocery store is like my favorite thing. Like I love having conversation.
Awesome.
Like, but like more often than not, when someone's like, "Come have a sit down conversation with us," is like this is going to be physically
two
painful.
bees in a pod.
This is like most of the time people
sit down.
Yeah. No, this is awesome. This is you guys are my friends, and you guys are doing something cool here, and like I'm happy to do this, and I'm glad you guys had me on. But yeah, I would say a lot of the times the MMA media guys want to have a conversation, or anybody has a podcast that they want me to come on or whatever. It's just like this is going to be almost physically painful for me.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that I've gotten the last couple of years I've realized that I'm definitely somewhere on the spectrum, and I just didn't. All these things that I just thought were things about myself. I'm like, oh, like that's I'm obviously on the spectrum. Like there's like a count. I had a conversation with Finn McKenty who does his YouTube channel's Punk Rock MBA. He's got a pretty big following, and we were talking about realizing in your late 20s that you're fucking borderline autistic is a funny thing, because you're like, once it clicks, you're like, oh.
That happened to my niece.
You're like, oh.
Yeah, my niece, same thing.
Yeah.
She's 20 and she like took a test and she's like, oh, okay, that all makes sense now.
A lot of these interactions that I've had my entire life, or like a lot of these things that felt like weird, disconnected chords, or like weird, like things getting lost in translation, is like, that makes perfect sense. Or like the way I do specific things, or the way I'm like, all kinds of things. And that ties into, sometimes there would be like, I'll be having conversations with someone where like it's a sit down conversation or a phone conversation, or like, and it's like I literally like have to fight off urges to like slam my fucking head through the wall and like put my fist through something, just make eye contact, like uncomfortable eye contact, and like make like I just like have these little tics that I'm just like,
well, you don't like force interaction.
I don't,
which is fine. And the thing for us is like, this is what this is, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, with other guys like Cody Garbrandt, for example, we've been trying to get him on the show. I know him through the fighting. We've interacted, hung out a little bit.
Cody's a good guy.
But he doesn't want to be like, he's kind of made it painfully obvious the unanswered text messages, and I don't take it personal. I get it. He's got, like all you guys.
He's also probably super busy, because he's got at a fight camp. But I think
I don't take it personal. Like I get it. Like you and I and Tim, we have a deep connection. You know, when you were literally a kid. So I feel there's the reason why you're here compared to some other two guys that are starting a podcast. No chance you're there.
No, I mean no, there's no I mean, and it's like it's I feel bad because there's a person, I'm blanking, I know his name, but there's someone who helps me set up like fight week or fight camp interviews, right? Like someone who works for everybody, and they do a great job setting up interviews.
I know who the guy is. I can't think of him anyway, but I know who you're talking about.
But he's a great guy. He's great at his job, and he'll hit me up and go, "You want to do this, and this?" And I'm like, no, and no, and no. And then it'd be like, there's like 3 to 4 people that I'll do interviews with where I'm like, yeah, I'll talk to that guy, like, because I know that half of it will be about fighting and half of it will be about cool other shit, and the fighting questions will be questions that are like legitimate, and I'm happy to do it. But then there's a lot of guys where it's gonna be 30 minutes of them going, so what did you do for this camp? How does this camp compare to the other camps?
Like,
how are you feeling about your fight? It's just like, dude, I will fucking put a spoon through my eye on live TV if it breaks up the monotony of this.
Question.
Like I will fucking rip my ears off the side of my head and eat them on camera if it means that I don't have to keep doing this with you. Like
it's too forced.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, it's too forced, and it's also just repetitive. And
Well, and one thing I wanted interaction we had a while back. I don't know how much we can get into it. We might have to edit some of it. But I remember right when you got signed to the UFC, I'm talking about basically fighting outside the cage, right? And I was like, there was a situation. I'm like, Andre, no need for that. Like, don't,
Which situation was? I mean, I've been in a couple.
the Jordan Bailey one.
Yeah, you could say it. I don't give a fuck.
I don't know.
Yeah, fuck him. Fuck that guy.
But
if that guy walked in your house right now, I'd beat the fuck out of him again.
Yeah, and the thing about you is you're very matter of fact. And I remember
man's got to have principles.
Yeah.
If that guy walked in here today, I'd make
Fight
him.
him.
If that guy walked in here, I would make him as if that guy walked in right now, to this day, I'd make him as uncomfortable as possible, so that he knew he wasn't welcome around me or feel safe around me until he left. And if he didn't leave, I'd beat his ass again.
So like a mountain lion. I feel like that
just
mountain
like,
lion. You're
it's just like.
Tell us about that, because I was the outsider. I got a text before it happened.
Yeah.
And I remember texting you. I was like, "Hey, dude, you're in the UFC. Like,
yeah, I probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, but what I love about you and respect you is you're very true to who you are. And I think you said to me, like, when a grown man challenges me, we're gonna fight. That's how I grew up. I don't care if I'm in the UFC or not. I'm gonna fight this guy. There's nothing you can say." And I was like, all right, just be safe.
Yeah, it's like,
so tell us. I mean, that was
that
a
sounds
crazy
like
situation.
pretty on brand for me. I mean,
well, you told me that.
Yeah. I don't remember that specifically, but yeah, it's just like a matter of principle. Like after a guy says,
because he posted something online, right?
Well, he posted something about talking shit about Uriah, and then he posted something talking shit about the team.
This is a fighter, right?
He's a professional. I mean, anyone listening to this story,
he's all right. Yeah,
I mean, he's a fucking.
He knows how to fight.
He's a professional fighter. He does it professionally. Mm-hmm. So like, my conscience is clear beating the fuck out of this guy. It's not like he's some dude off the street. Like, fuck this kid. So. And he's not. He's like 2 years older than I am. So fuck this guy. You know what I mean? He's like a 35-year-old man now. It's like, fuck him. Yeah, he just was talking shit about people I care about, and I called him out on it. And then he called me the N-word and called me a bunch of other crazy shit. Told me he was gonna kill me and all. Like, said a bunch of shit that was just like, all right, well, words. Like, for me, like, words have consequences. And so, like, if you say something, like, you're not just gonna say that to me and then, when I see you, I'm gonna be like, "Wow, I don't like that guy." No, like, if you say those things to me, I'm gonna find out if you meant them when I see you. Like, I'm not gonna just let you fucking tell me. If you tell me you're gonna kill me, I'm not gonna be in the same room as you and let you just be somewhere over here in the ether and not take your word for it. Like, I'm gonna take you seriously. If you say you're gonna kill me, like, okay, I'll go first. Like, fuck you. Like, you're not gonna. You just, you know. I think that's just basic human nature. You know, like.
And he showed up at the gym with the balls of.
Yeah, I mean,
out of that whole situation, I was like, man, that kid's got some balls.
I mean,
maybe I think he was on.
I don't. Well, he was for sure. He'd probably been on a couple-day binge. He called me and said some crazy shit, and I told him to meet me, and he didn't show up. And so then I posted on Facebook, because Facebook was still a thing that you actually did. Now I go on Facebook. It's a wasteland of just like old relatives and high school friends just saying insane things. But back then, Facebook was a thing that you actually went on and posted on. So I said like, let's just handle this like men. Like, you're a professional fighter, I'm a professional fighter. Like, let's meet. And so we showed up, and he didn't meet. And I posted on Facebook. I tagged him. I said, Jordan Bailey is terrified of me. If he tells you anything else, he's a liar. I just posted that. And I think that sent him over the edge, and he just knew, like, now it was public that, you know. So the next day he literally called me. I'm not exaggerating. I was walking through Target with Melissa. He called me 40 times. Like, he'd called me and screaming the N-word and telling me he's going to kill me. And I'm like, listen, man, I tried to meet up with you yesterday. You're scared of me. You're a bitch. Don't call my phone. Hung up. He called me 40 fucking times in the course. In the time it takes to walk around the Target, he called me 40 times. So I call him back. I go, listen, man, if you're serious, if you really want this, like, if you really, really want to do this, meet me over here. So we met, and before we met, I told him, go in the gym, sign a waiver. I'll sign a waiver. I've already signed a waiver because I trained at that gym. I'll crack your fucking head open in the middle of the gym, and then you can leave with your friends and go to the hospital. Like, we can handle this like men. Like, we can handle this like fighters, which is what we are. And he was like, fuck that. You're this, you're that. You're an N-word. I want to fucking kill you.
He's going hard on that.
No, I was like, okay, champ, I'll see you when you get there. So we fucking we show up, and right as we square up, the security guard flashes a light on us, and he's just like,
were you guys in the gym or?
No, in a parking lot out front, across the street from the gym. Okay. So he flashes a light. I think he was walking to the gym, but I saw him. We pulled up, and I just hopped out. Was ready to fight him. And
probably better for the gym. Just kind of,
yeah, for sure. So a security guard like flashes a light on us. It's just like some old dude who's looking at us like, please don't make me do it. He's like reading a book in his car. It's like his job to like watch. He just like shines the light and looks at us like he just like moves the light like shoo. He's like, please don't make me have to do my job. Like I just want to read that book. So we go across the street, and the whole time we walk behind the gym. There's an alley in the gym. It's like fucking pitch black, and the whole time I'm telling him, I'm like talking shit. I can kind of see him in the corner of my eye. He's behind me, but I'm goading him into this. Like I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you. As soon as we turn this corner, you're getting your fucking ass whooped. Like so I'm saying this the whole walk. It's probably a 3-minute walk. He's just like fucking fuming. I'm just getting him, riling him up. And I'm like, as soon as we turn this corner, you're getting the fucking shit beat out of you. And as soon as we turn the corner, I duck because I see him in the corner. I duck, and he throws this big overhand, and I just fucking double leg him and I won't go into details, but yeah, his head was swollen for about 2 weeks. Like I had his teammates texting me for like a week and a half after, like, dude, he came in today, his head's fucking swollen, his whole face is swollen, and yeah,
it wasn't a good night for him.
Yeah, I beat the shit out of him. And it wasn't a decision. And I grabbed him.
It didn't go to the cards.
His friend picks him up. His friend, I left him face down in the alley going like this, snoring. And
he woke back up.
And then he woke back up. Yeah. He woke back up.
And he had a friend.
And he had a friend.
You had a friend too.
Yeah, he woke back up and he got picked up, and I fucking grabbed him by his face and was like, do not ever say my name again. Do not ever call me the shit you called me again, or next time I'm going to beat your ass worse than this. And I fucking smacked him in his face, and I walked off. And as I was walking off, he like wakes back up and is like zombieing around, talking shit again, and like because he's been on like a 3-day bender. Yeah. So he fucking wakes back up and he's zombieing forward, and he didn't realize as he was walking towards me in the alley that another one of my friends is standing next to him. He's like, fuck you, and then my friend just turns and boom, sits him down again, and that was.
We're not going to say the friend's name for obvious reasons.
No, we're not going to say the name for obvious reasons, but
what a good friend.
Yeah, he's a good friend. He's a good friend because I dislocated a finger on that kid's forehead, so my hand was all messed up. And
but how hard is that?
But yeah, it's a good story. I mean, it's a fun fight story.
But as you get older, have you been in situations where anyone's tried to come at you, or you're like, man, I got too much to lose?
I've been in fights. I've been in fights since then, for sure.
Like, but do they know you're a UFC fighter, or is that the enticement? They're like, I want to see if I can beat up a UFC fighter.
No, I don't think that I actually don't run into that very much of people like trying to press me because I'm a fighter. What happens is most of the time I try to de-escalate situations. That situation with him, he was just like, he has to get beat up. Like, what can I do? He's telling me he's going to kill me. He's calling me the N-word. He's like he's like saying all kinds of crazy shit. It's like, okay, well, we have to fight. And I was younger, maybe I would navigate. I probably would navigate it differently now, but I would try to avoid that situation now as an adult and hopefully a little older, a little wiser. But I'm at a place now where I try to de-escalate situations, but I also...
You gotta be true to yourself.
Yeah, I also am just not in a position... Like, I'll de-escalate a situation where, like, I'm not trying to fight, man. Like, all right, have a good one. But if someone presses me and I feel that there's a real threat to my safety or someone's safety around, like, I'll respond, and I think that's like just a normal
human nature.
It's human nature. Like if you're threatening me or my family or someone I care about, it's like, what am I gonna do? I'm not gonna just like hope you don't do it. Like I'm not like hope you don't mean what you said. Like no. Like I had a situation the other day. Like as an example, like I try to de-escalate situations, but also there's a certain point where it's like, look, if you really want to figure this out, we can figure this out. Like I had a dude. I was walking my dog with my girlfriend. I think this guy was dropping his kid off to school or something. Like we were next to a fucking elementary school or middle school, and this guy like pulls up all crazy, like where the sidewalk basically dips to the driveway of an apartment complex, but it's still the sidewalk. He like pulls in like at a crazy angle, at a crazy speed, and I'm like yo, and I like pull my dog, and he looks. I'm like, bro, you almost ran my dog over, and he just like looks at. I think he almost hit Harley on the walk. So he's like, I didn't even see your dog. I'm like, all right, man. Like, so nothing even happened. It wasn't even. I was just went yo, like yelled at him like, stop fucking coming this direction because you run my dog over. You're up on the sidewalk. So we walk another like 2 or 3 minutes. And then that dude comes, like, we're like a few thousand feet past the school. We're like going into a neighborhood, and the guy goes, and like pulls up in the middle of the street next to us, goes, "Hey, bro, I wasn't anywhere near you." I'm like, this is like minutes after the like, but it wasn't even. I forgot that even happened. Like, wasn't a thing. But he feels some type of way. He's having a bad day. So he's like, "I wasn't even near you," and I was like, "You almost ran my dog over." He's like, "I didn't even see your dog." I was like, "Yeah, well, then how?" Like, he's like, "Why were you out in the street?" I was like, "Bro, I was on the sidewalk. You almost ran my dog over." He's like, "I didn't even see your dog." I was like, "Well, then how do you know my dog was in the street? You didn't see him. How do you know where he was?" Like, doesn't make any sense. Yeah, like, sense, you don't know. You almost ran my dog over, but now you're saying you didn't see my dog. So how do you know my dog was in the street? Like, you pulled all the way up on the fucking sidewalk. Like, but I'm still being cool. I'm like, "Hey, man, like, you almost ran my dog over. All I did was say, watch out." He was like, "Hey, watch who you're talking to like that." Like, he's guy's like having a bad day, and he's like, "Watch how you're talking to like that." I'm like,
to have a worse
yeah.
day.
I'm like, and I'm like, "Bro, it's 9 a.m. Like, I'm walking my dog with like my girlfriend through the suburbs. Like, I've got fucking Birkenstocks on. Like, bro, it's not. I'm not trying to do it." So I'm like, he's
you're
like,
like almost laughing,
bro. Yes,
you're like, oh,
I'm
man,
like, this
you're gonna have
not.
a worse
Yeah,
day
he's like,
day.
and he's like. Watch who you're talking to like that. And I'm like, I'm not talking any type of way, but don't try to run my like, watch where you're driving. Like, no one's talking to me. So he's like cussing, raising his voice, like, watch who you're talking to. I was like, bro, I'm not talking to you any type of way, but I am talking to you. Like, don't pull up on the sidewalk. Like, watch where you're driving. It's not that big of a deal. He's like, and he just like won't drop it. And I'm just like, bro, what? I'm like, listen, man, like, I'm going to keep walking and go about my day. You have a good day, man. Like, no one's talking to you any type of way, but you're not gonna pull up and punk us. Like, if it's really like what's your issue? Like, what the fuck do you want to do about it? And then he just like fucking drove off and like let it go. And I'm like,
yeah, but most people don't want to fight, right? When it comes down to it, you know, like when you say, "Okay, we're gonna fight."
Yeah, no. And he was also like reaching under, like playing around like he had a gun in his car or something. It's like, you don't want to do that with me. Like, I'll fuck you up. Like. But I don't want to do that. Yeah. Like, I didn't want that interaction. Like, I didn't seek that interaction out. And I think that guy, for the most part, has just gone through his life bullying people and punking people. Like, even though he's in the wrong, he's probably done that to other people where he's like, he starts getting crazy and getting loud, and other people are like, "All right, man." Like, it's like, and I'm not going to do that. Like, you're not going to.
'Cause that's
like,
the scary people with the gun situation, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, especially in Sacramento, there's a lot of gun violence, but there's also a certain point where it's like,
you can only be disrespected.
Yeah, I mean, it's like a certain point where it's like, dude, you came tires screeching up to me and my girlfriend. First of all, you almost ran my dog over.
That's
then
mistake one.
Right. Then you're driving fucking erratic in a school zone. Then you drive even more erratically to find me later on.
But imagine if he squares up, and of all people to run into,
it's just like, dude, please don't make me.
Veteran UFC fighter.
Like, please don't make me beat you up in front of your son's school. Like, what? I don't.
All the kids.
I'm like, I genuinely don't want to do this. I just think the difference is that, like, when presented with that situation, like, the story might be like, yeah, we got in an altercation, but the story's not going to be that, like, you acted like an asshole and then punked me in front of my girlfriend after almost running my dog over, and then you went about your day like you were in the right. Like, I just can't do that. And I think a lot of people, not for better or worse, not saying that I'm, you know, I have it the right way. Just, I can't go about my day with that. Like, I just won't do it. I'm not letting somebody pull up on me, screech their tires, yell at my girlfriend, yell at me, almost run my dog over.
I think the worst thing is almost run over your dog.
I could care less about the people involved.
Yeah,
that dog needs to
everything else. But
there's no way I'm letting that guy. So I think that's what happens. I think there's a lot of times where I think that just my line of, I'm not, like, my line in the sand is just a little closer than, or a little farther out maybe than other people's.
Have you ever had to drop the line like, "Hey, I do this for a living"? Like, have you ever had to take it that far? Where,
trust me, you don't want to do this.
Yeah, all the time. When I was younger.
Huck about a super good story about him in a bar, and he's
great.
like, "You don't want to do this. You don't want to." And the guy's that, that buff.
Yeah. Now he wants to do it more.
I'm the town tough guy. This is my bar. What are you thinking?
And then he's like, "All right." And then Stacy, his wife, is like, "Okay."
Yeah,
it's time. Like, and then he just leaves him sleeping. But have you ever had to be like, "Did I do this for a living, dude?"
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Really? You've had to go
100%.
Yeah, and it stops them, right? Is anyone like, "So I don't care"?
It's happened before. It's happened before. I don't really get into too many altercations now. I think I'm better at avoiding them, although I still have that line in the sand. But when I was younger, I would tell people like, look, like a lot of times when I was younger with my friends, I wouldn't even say like, oh, I'm a fighter. I would be like, there was a lot of times partying is when I was younger, where I would tell dudes, I'm like, listen, talking to them about my friends, I'm like, listen, that guy wants to fight you. He's gonna hit you. Like I can tell you right now. I'm like looking at this guy, like I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at my friend. I'm like, this guy's gonna hit you. So I'm just like, I'm asking you, just let it go. Just let it go. I get it. I don't know who's in the wrong. I don't care who's in the wrong. Just drop, because this guy. Because the thing is, once your friends are in a fight, you're not talking. You're in a fight. Yeah. So I just be like, I'm asking you, man. Look at this guy wants to fight you. He wants to. You did something and he wants to fight. So I'm just asking you to drop it. And they're like, no, fuck it. I'll kick his ass. I'm like, no, you won't. You will not. It's not gonna go that way. And I'm asking you really nicely to just drop it. And then of course they wouldn't. And. Yeah,
I've heard about some house parties. And,
yeah, it's just it happens. Yeah. It does happen, but it doesn't.
Taqueria.
Yeah, dude. There's so many stories, but it's like it's funny. It's funny when you're younger, but you get to an age where you're like, it's not just that I don't want to get arrested, which I don't. It's not that I don't want to, I invite whatever chaos that shit brings, but I don't. But it's
you got kids looking up to you now.
Yeah,
you
it's
really
like I don't.
are a role model.
Well, I'm
whether
trying
you like
to.
It or not.
Yeah,
you are that guy to that kid that has a rough childhood and is looking up. Oh, Touchy Fili can do it.
Yeah,
I can do it, and it really. I mean, it sounds like kind of douchey or whatever, but it's the reality.
I want to
look up to.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I want to set a good example for sure, and also I don't want to. Yeah, I'm gonna have kids sooner than later. I don't want to be a guy who's getting in fucking fights with his newborn kid in the car. I don't want to do that.
The football coach.
Yeah,
you didn't start your son.
I'm not trying to be that guy, and also, man, I don't like hurting people. Like I told that Jordan Bailey story. People who were listening, me putting this kid to sleep in the alley. It's like that kid said a lot of crazy shit and was being a giant piece of shit. So I don't care. Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty confident, and also he's a professional fighter. Yeah. I don't feel anything about beating up another guy who trains for a living. But the average guy, I don't want to hurt. Like maybe he's a douchebag. Maybe that guy who by the school, maybe he was just having a bad day.
Yeah, we don't know what his day was.
I don't know what his day.
What does Joe Rogan say about that? Like no one knows what that guy's gone through.
For sure,
he might. His dad just died, or you don't know. Yeah. Just his wife. Yeah, cheated on him and took the house. Dude, you don't know.
He didn't see my dog. He almost hit my dog, and then
but then
instead
he comes back.
I think he was having a real bad day, and he just wanted to get a win, and he was looking for one, but he wasn't going to find it here, dude. Yeah,
you couldn't ask for a worse guy to run into.
He was like, "You don't know who you're talking to." I was like, "You don't know who you're talking to." Like, and this is my thing: is my standard operating procedure is let's pretend that everyone around us is a bad motherfucker. Yeah. And we can all let's pretend that everybody has a gun. Let's pretend that everybody can fight. Let's pretend that everybody will fucking stab you to death. Because every human's capable of that. So like, if we operate under those set of parameters, then we'll all be on our P's and Q's.
That's a reality. A lot of people.
You ever go to the shooting range?
Once.
Go to the shooting range. You will never find a more polite group of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because every single person in the room has a gun. I'm not saying that guns solve problems. I'm saying like when you operate under the parameters of everyone here could ruin your fucking day, don't push an issue, but everybody treats everybody with more respect. When you have, again, that guy could have been having a horrible day. He could have been, his wife could have just cheated on him. His dad could have died. He's running he's running late. He's just gotten in a fight with his wife. He's got to drop his kids off to work. He's running late to his new job. And then I yell at him in front of his kid. Granted, I yelled at him because he fucking almost ran my dog over, but he felt slighted and he just, that was it, right? So like, I don't like hurting people. Like I don't.
Some guys just deserve it, right?
Some guys, it
makes the world a better place.
Some guys need to ass with me, yeah, but a lot of people, like, I don't know if that guy did. Maybe that guy's a total piece of shit and I should have beat him up. Or maybe he was having a really bad day. He just dropped his kid off at work, saw me, and was like, fuck this, I need a win.
And that shows your maturity, because 10 years ago, Andre...
Take the leash. I want to beat the crap out of this guy.
Yeah, I mean, and
Want to paint the street with?
I don't like hurting people. I don't want to hurt people. I would much rather me and that guy. I told him, he was like, you don't know who you're talking to. I was like, you don't know who you're talking to. And then I said, no one's talking to you any type of way, but like if you want to figure it out, we can. Other than that, like, have a good day, man.
Yeah.
I literally said, have a good day, and started walking, and he like didn't know what to do with that. Yeah. So I'm like, bro, I'm trying to.
The ultimate trash talk.
It's just like, have a good day.
Have a good day. Hey.
Yeah. Like,
hope the family's doing well.
It gets better for you, man, because it's obviously not going well right now. And if you keep fucking pushing me, it's gonna go worse. But no, that's the reality. I don't want to hurt people.
And so, as you were saying, you love fighting questions. So of course we have to segue into a fighting question. But I look at your career, right? It is a lot of you have a big win, a loss, big win, and you kind of do that tilter back and forth. But it's a recipe for staying in the UFC. You know, the 3 straight losses. That's the big one, right? Yeah. I feel, man, 10 years in the UFC, what a ride, and just crazy. We're so proud of you from
Thank you, man.
From this standpoint, and you're laser focused on being a champion, right? So that's like that is the big what do you think is missing from the seesaw, the highs and the lows? And no one knows that the sport is full of highs and full of lows, but I feel like your career, giant high, then a low, then giant high.
Yeah.
What do you think is going to take you to get to that next level?
1 second. Give me 10 seconds.
Okay. This is what happens when you get punched in the face.
Yeah, buddy.
You need to clear out your nose and your eyes from just constant hits to the head.
Yeah, I was going to say there's some cartilage rolling around in there somewhere that probably needs to get flushed out. But, it's funny, Andre brings up a good point, because this is something we had talked about with one of the other guests, that out of all of our 15 after-party fights, after-fight parties that we had, there were no fights. Nobody ever got into a fight, like, right there in the middle of the bar, like, which you think there would be with all this alcohol flow and all these fighters around. But it's like Andre said, when you are of the mindset that everybody here is a trained killer, you're going to be on a little bit better behavior. So I thought that was pretty interesting bringing that back up. But
an armed society is a polite society. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like to see another T-shirt.
Yeah.
So what is it going to take?
Yeah.
What do you think's missing?
I think it's a mindset thing. I think I've tried to. I think in my earlier, I think I got away from being authentic to, like, I've never faked anything. I've always been me, but I turned the volume down on myself a lot, and I stopped being as authentic to myself. I got to the UFC, and I was like, all right, what's Mighty Mouse doing? Like, what's Anderson Silva doing? And I tried to be this thing, and I got to kind of just be a wild animal again. I did that in my last fight. I had a lot of fun, and I think having fun, that enjoyment, is a huge part of it. I also think, chasing these goals. Like, my teammate Cody Nola became he went from unranked to a world champ in a year.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, I got to be a world champ. That's what I got to focus on, being a world champ. It's like, I'm going to be a world champion, but I also think that comes from winning fights, and winning fights comes from having fun and being true to yourself. Like, I think winning fights comes from being true to yourself, and part of my being true to myself is enjoying it, and just being, I'm kind of loud and obnoxious, and I'm having fun, and I'm like, and I started having those doubts creep in from the losses, and I started overanalyzing, and I started like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole type thing, where it's like, all right, well, like, I cannot lose, like, I have to do what the best guys in the world are doing. It's like, you got to stick with what got you to the show. And like,
so I feel like you're way more technical now, right? Your jab, I mean, it's gone leaps and bounds. And again, I don't pretend to be an MMA expert, but I feel like you got to have that, right? You're very technical now, but it's like putting those two worlds together, like what you got you there. And the hardest part, we were talking to Max about this, who has had some similar decisions. You guys have a pretty cool path. It's kind of very unique. You guys came from the same organization, West Coast Fighting Championship, but you had similar careers, right? You've had terrible decision losses that you won. And everyone says, this is the worst quote. I hate when people say this. Well, don't leave it in the hand of the judges.
Yeah.
Like, you don't think you're not trying to knock someone out the whole time, and how hard that is in the UFC. But the UFC, you know what they want. Yeah. They want knockouts, exciting fights. And it's like, what do you think they're going in there? Not trying to knock the guy out?
I think it's actually counterintuitive. For me, it's weird. It's like I've gotten so technical that it's like I'm focused on being technical. It's like going in and trying to be like, this is going to be a really hard thing that I got it, and then it's like, dude, when I just relax and like, I think I've given everybody else too much credit and me not enough. And there's a lot of guys, I'm like, I think a lot of guys, and it's going to sound douchey to a lot of people listening to this because they're going to be like, well, why don't you fucking do it then? But there's a lot of guys that I didn't knock out because I gave them too much credit. Whereas like looking back, or like being in the fight with a lot of guys, or like sparring other world-class guys in their gyms, I'm like, I'm really fucking good at fighting, and like I give these guys too much credit. There's a lot of times where I go in and be like my last fight, like within the first 30 seconds, the first time I touch him, I sat him down. It's like, just go out and touch guys. Like, don't give them too much credit. Just go out and beat them up. Like, and there's a lot of times where I look back, I'm like, I gave that guy way too much credit and like overanalyzed it. It was like, you know, you're not just gonna go knock this guy out. You gotta have to do this and do that. It's like, you probably could have just gone out and knocked him out if you just fucking bit down on your mouthpiece and went. And like, you probably gave him too much credit. So yeah, I'm giving myself a lot more credit. I wish it hadn't taken me all this time to do that, but I'm giving myself a lot more credit now. I'm giving other guys a lot less credit, and I'm enjoying my time, and I'm staying a lot more true to myself. After I lost to Holloway, I won't name the executive because I like him. I like him a lot, but
you totally can if you want.
I won't, but I like him a lot. I consider him a friend. He's a good guy, and I don't think he did this personally. And it's on me because I internalized it. But I lost to Holloway, and this UFC exec told Fili needs to stop trying to be a rock star and just focus on winning fights. And I think I internalized that a lot, and I shouldn't have. It's like I wasn't trying to be I guess I was trying to be a rock star, but that's just me. Like, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Like, this is just my personality. I'm just going to be fucking jumping around and having fun and laughing, yelling and spitting blood and talking shit. It's like, this is just me. It's just who I am. Like, it's not a conscious thing I'm doing. It's just me, and I think I internalized that and was like, all right, I got to be a fucking, what's Mighty Mouse doing? What's Anderson Silva doing? What's this guy doing? It's like, I should have, I think for the last 10 years, if I had just been more focused on just being myself and not trying to turn the volume down on myself, I think things would have gone different. If I gave myself more credit and other people less credit, I think a lot of those fights wouldn't have been decisions. So
I think you're such a smart guy. I feel like you overanalyze it sometimes.
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
Detriments, and it's a positive as well.
There's people who are real dumb and they're real successful. Yep. And it's because they don't overthink it. They just go in and be like, they're just like, of course I'm the best. Why would I not be the best? And then I look at them and be like, dude, you suck at this. But you're having a lot of success because you're not overthinking. You just.
And speaking of the Max Holloway fight, I don't know if you ever heard him, the interview where he said, who's the toughest guy you've ever fought? Yeah. And it was you.
Yeah, and shout out to Max. I love Max. Max is great.
Was that your second or third fight in the UFC?
Yeah, we were babies. I think I was 23. Max was 22. It's my second fight.
That's one of the greatest Hall of Famer for sure.
Yeah, Max is the man. I have a lot of love for Max. I think he's a great dude, great champion. He's up there. I mean, I think
Hall of Famer. Your second fight, third fight. And that was like Max. Who did he get? Was his first fight Colby Covington? Or second fight? Something like that.
Yeah, it was tough.
So, and then one thing I got to bring up, remember when I was just taking out these shirts and I had the King of Sacramento shirts. And remember when you beat everyone in the region.
Yeah, at 45.
UFC wasn't calling, and Max was the big dog.
Yeah.
He was on his way to the UFC.
Yeah.
He was 170. And you're like, all right, screw the UFC. They're not. I got to do something crazy.
Yeah.
And you went to challenge Max.
I was going to fight at 170. Yeah.
And I was like, I'm all for it. Let's go.
It'd have been huge. That would have been a crazy one.
That would have been. And I think you got the call of the UFC before that fight.
I was like walking around like almost 180 pounds, and they called me on 2 weeks' notice to see if I could make 45. I was like, yeah, sure, of course, let's do it.
What do you think? That would have been a great fight.
It'd been a fun fight, and I think I was walking around about $180, so it wouldn't have been an issue to make 170. It would be no big deal. Like to get up to 170, I was heavier than that. I was walking around 180 pounds, and like I was just all fat and having a good time. I fucking hit hard when I'm chubby, so I was like pretty ready to go. I think.
But what an epic fight that would have been for
fun.
The region.
I think then it would have been a fun fight, and I still think I would have won. But now training with Max, and he's bigger and more athletic than he was even then. that motherfucker hits hard, dude. Like, I wouldn't want to fight him now. He's deceptive. He got a really deceptive timing. He's really dense. Like, everything he does just hurts. Like, he's body kicked me and leg kicked me, where it's like, I know he's not going hard, but just heavy. Like, yeah, a guy fucking really good fighter, really weird timing, really like he uses a lot of like traditional martial art style stuff with modern MMA, so he's got weird timing, and like trains with Marinoble, who's got a bunch of, shout out Dave Marinoble, that guy's got all kinds of, Madman Marinoble, he's got all kinds of cool tricks, and yeah, it would have been really cool. It would have been really cool for Sacramento. It would have been really cool for West Coast fighting, but I think everything happens for a reason. You know, getting to the UFC was the ultimate goal.
Yeah.
So it was like that was obviously that worked out, but I do think it would have been cool. It would have been cool for us to fight. I think it would have been big. We'd have sold out that. We'd have put 5,000 fucking people in that little bingo hall or whatever, the Air Force Base. And yeah, it would have been funny to see how it plays out. It's funny looking back at that. I'm just like a skinny, fat kid with like a mohawk and like shouldn't be good at like tiny legs and just like going for it though.
No, I remember that that was one of those things, you know, you were the first fighter that I ever talked to as far as, you know, getting your information. And first of all, you kind of threw me off because you were so articulate, and one of those things that I wasn't really expecting. I hate to admit it, but
no, it's all right.
I expected someone to be like, yeah, this is my fucking name. What do you want to know about it? Because I figure you guys you're cutting weight. You're ready for a fight. So, but I remember you know, you're tall and lanky, and you're fighting Vayman Dennis, who looks like he's carved out of granite, you know what I mean? But there's something about that, like you just said, when you were chubby, you hit harder, and I've almost always noticed that when you have two fighters, one of them is ripped, and one of them looks like he kind of just woke up.
Yeah.
The dude who just woke up wins like every freaking time.
It's something to it, for sure.
There's something about having that extra fat. I think, I swear, I think it like absorbs a little bit more hits that you don't feel like. I don't know if that's something to it.
Something with oxygen, right? With the muscle, more muscle.
Muscle takes a lot of oxygen. I think at the highest level, you got to be in good shape. I don't think you can be, I mean, some people pull it off, but I think at the highest level, like I've gotten much more athletic, and my diet's much better. I think a lot of it was just growing up, how I grew up, the way I ate. I just like I ate my first salad, I was 23. Like, I remember I took an Instagram picture of the first salad I ever ate. I was 23 years old.
Wow.
I just didn't grow. I grew up just eating processed food and shit.
Nutter butter.
A lot of Vienna sausages.
Just fucking
Spam.
Hot Pockets.
It's just Hot Pockets and Cheez-Its.
I miss Hot Pockets.
Dude, I used to eat like absolute shit, and that, you know, that was just how I ate, and I didn't do strength conditioning. I just fought, you know, and so. But I also didn't have any doubts, right? Whereas like now, I gotta find the balance in those things of like, I do all this work, but then also just make sure you keep it simple in the fight. Just go beat the dude up.
And I feel like the last 2 or 3 years you've been kind of laser focused. I mean, I haven't seen you for gosh, it's been a while.
I've been pretty locked in, yeah.
But yeah, it sucks that we haven't. You know, you live 45 minutes away or whatever, but. I'm almost proud of you. Is that weird to say that I haven't seen you, that I'm proud of you for not seeing you?
No,
but I've asked you, you know, but...
We keep in touch, but
you're so laser focused that I'm like, I love where he's at. I love where his head's at.
Man.
It'd be cooler to hang out more, but you're like, hey, I'm in Austin, I'm in New York, but I'm proud of you. It's so cool to see the transformation from skinny Fury, Andre the Fury, with a half mohawk, with a head tattoo, with the ankle brace, the whole thing, to now a professional fighter. And it's been, from our angle, just a cool story to watch. It made our fighting promotion so much more bearable. You know, it was kind of worth it to see these guys live out their dream. So I appreciate you letting us in as a kid and trusting us.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys.
And it's been awesome to see you fight all over the world, and we appreciate you coming here. And you got any closing words? You got any words of wisdom for everyone's listening out there? Or maybe for a kid, right? A kid that the underdog.
Yeah, find something you love, and then
just focused on it.
Find something you love, and then put that in front of everything else. Girls, parents, school, like everything. Play the game enough to graduate high school and keep relationships bearable with the people around you, but like make sure that the thing that you are passionate about, put that before anything else.
Laser focus
and just keep moving forward. Like there's going to be speed bumps, there's going to be things that get in the way. It's not going to happen as fast as you want. But I think the difference between me and a lot of the kids I grew up with who didn't end up doing what they said they were going to do and ended up, in pretty bad ways. I think the difference was that I just kept showing up every day. It's just like it just wasn't an option.
Be present.
Being there every day. Like I'm going to be there Monday, and I'm going to be there Tuesday, I'm going to be there Wednesday, and I'm going to be there every single day, no matter how bad I get my ass kicked. Like I'm showing up
until you're a champion.
Until I'm the best dude in the room, until I'm the best dude in the world, until I'm the best dude in history.
So the next time we're going to have you on here, I'm big into positive affirmations.
Yeah.
We're going to have the UFC belt.
UFC right featherweight, there. Undisputed UFC featherweight world title right
and we're going to put the West Coast belt on your right. Just remember where you came from.
Buddy.
And we're going to have it here.
Yeah, I love it. So, I'm excited, man.
Well, thank you for coming on the show. Always good talking to you.
Appreciate you, boys.
And 2 B's in the pod. Please subscribe, comment, and like. And thank you, Andre, for coming on the show.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, buddy.
All right.
Yeah.